Hi and welcome to this episode of Resilient Voices. This is the second in a series of Toolbox Talk that MaryAnn and Voli and I have. MaryAnn Voli, she's a dear friend. She's also an executive coach and mindfulness instructor and breathwork coach. Today, the focus will be how can you strengthen your resilience? How can you become stronger to cope better in life? And also, what do you do afterwards? How can you bring those experiences into some practical toolboxes and practices for the future? So listen in to this episode where we talk about daily practices that will build your strength and resilience. This is the sequel, the second episode of the Toolbox series that MaryAnn Voli and I are talking about in this field of resilience and how you can move through life with creating more resilience and also this episode will be more about sort of how can you strengthen yourself in order to handle difficult situations even better. So welcome, MaryAnn.
Thank you. It's great to be here again.
Yeah. So
actually, I already was here.
Yes. But welcome anyway, and to our listeners, welcome. This is going to be a bit more of what can you do before? How can you strengthen yourself? How can you live life as a bit of a more stronger, resilient person that can manage and cope through situations that come up, because they will come up in life a bit easier, a bit more with a bit more ease, maybe.
And I would add ease and wisdom.
Yeah.
I think there's a piece for me that strengthening resilience, whether it be before something unpleasant happens or after, is the way I see it is about building resilience and becoming more wise and more compassionate.
Yeah.
That would be my that's my goal as far as building resilience is having that wisdom and then being compassionate. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I would have to say there's no shortcut to that wisdom. It comes from experience. It comes from facing the situations, going through situations that you would rather not have had in the first place.
Yeah, gosh, yeah. And I think, Jessica, it's funny because for me, in the last couple of years, as I said, I've gone through some pretty deep difficulties. Sometimes I go and I say, thank you. Thank you. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I've learned the lesson. Can I move on? No, the lesson is not learned. Need to go a little bit. There's more to go deep. There's more to sort of clear out and to put things in practice, take the learnings. And I love what you sent the other day, which was this little meme that's maybe if I go really slowly, the universe won't know that I'm here and they won't send me any more lessons to learn. But it doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. You cannot sneak around and under the radar because it will find you. But I think the good thing about this is that really, strengthening your resilience, it's like a muscle. And it's like we go to the gym because we do our physical practices because we want to be stronger, more resilient in our life in general. So I think that yes, there are no shortcuts. We have to go to the gym and just sort of build those muscles if we're going to live a long, healthy life. Because obviously, especially women, it's super important because we lose muscles, don't we? All people lose muscles with age, but women especially, and that comes with challenges. So.
The funny thing is, I would say for us, it's the opposite in the sense of the body and the men.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if we might need to edit this out.
Let's see.
That women, because of all the challenges we've gone through, childbirth, and unfortunately in this society, women are still not treated equally, and we do go through a lot of pain. That in a way, it's almost like somebody once said this to me, and I did not like it, but it does make sense, is you're only sent or the universe, God, whatever you believe, life sends you what you are ready to deal with. So as strong as you are, those are the lessons. And I know I have some friends who've gone through some terrible, terrible losses. And they're like, we don't want to, I don't want to hear that. The thing is it is like that. I think, well, as you say, every single discomfort makes us stronger. So I think in that sense, we've just become so strong as women because we've had to deal with so much, excuse me, shit.
Yeah, yeah. And not saying, I think that we're not one as, I mean, it doesn't really matter if you're a man or a woman. You will obviously be given some shit to go through. But overall, if we're going to generalize that women have,
If we're going to generalize,
it's been a bit of a tougher journey for women, and still is, in many ways. So yeah, absolutely.
So there are many things. I know for me, what has helped me to become stronger is transformational breath work. Yeah. Transformational breathwork, also known as conscious connected breathwork. And I know I'm grateful for breathwork because that's how you and I met. Yeah. But so I used to suffer depression until 2008, even though I was a very successful, high-functioning executive in the corporate world as a regional marketing director of the south of Europe. But I had this in the back. And the way that I cleared it out completely, I remember my brother leaving me information about Prozac, take pills, take that, and I didn't want to. I have nothing against antidepressants. I think there are times when they're needed. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For me, though, I did take them at one stage, and I said, no, I don't want to. And then I did a type of breath work that's called Shuran Shankriya from The Art of Living. Yeah. And that with bioenergetic and somatic therapy, so therapy of the body, so not the mind, but really the body. In 2008, I stopped having a depression. Yeah. So now I guide transformational breathwork because I know how powerful it is to be able to release depression, which doesn't mean I don't go through my moments of sadness and happiness. It's just that I don't have that shadow of depression. So transformational breathwork is an extremely powerful practice to clear out. Yeah, stuff.
And that's been very helpful for me as well. I've been using a lot of breath work and for other reasons as well, both to actually build and strengthen, but also in the moment. I had a difficult period in my life where I lost my mother, and it was just really with other things as well. And that just helped me to really release and just go through and just really allow those emotions and just scream, cry. It just really helped me to actually to move forward a bit quicker, I think, and really connected with my emotions in my body. And so I think it's got a dual purpose. It's also strengthening because it helps you balance your nervous system as well, and with all the powerful release of endorphins and all the feel-good cocktails that come out, and like when you're on stress burnout, you obviously have an overload of cortisol, which is you poison your system with that, don't you?
Yeah. And what we were talking in the last episode, right? We don't want to numb things; we want to release, because what we don't feel, we cannot heal. And we very often in the Western society we disempower ourselves by not allowing ourselves to feel, which doesn't mean acting it out. It just means being able to feel it and in the proper way deal with it, release it, and processes it out. And what you're describing with your grief was exactly that. It wasn't about not feeling it. No. It was actually intensely feeling it so you could go out of this, it could come out of the system faster. Yeah. So very important.
So it's super important. So breath is just really, the transformational breath work is really, it's transforming lives, isn't it?
Yeah. And by transformational breath work, many times when I run, and probably this happens to you as well, I run multi-dimensional breath work, also 9D, or there's holotropic breath work, there is rebirthing. So it's different from the breath work that you do in yoga classes where you use different types of breath.
That's more pranayama.
That's more pranayama. Yeah. So many people have come to one of the sessions of breath work and saying, "Oh, that was not what I expected," and they got much more than that they were expecting. So that's a very powerful one to build the resilient muscle and deal with all those emotions that are stuck inside of ourselves.
And one thing as well, we talked about it if you listen to the last episode, but this about actually have a gratitude practice and really, like you said, thank you for this, and no, I don't want any more, but but how important it is to actually be grateful for what you have.
Yeah, and even, what's funny, Jessica, and all of you, is also grateful for the challenges in your life. Yeah. Which is exactly what you were saying, right? I don't want it anymore, but I'm grateful because of that. Like, it's getting to the point where you can look back in your life and be grateful for every single moment, because you would not be where you are now if it wasn't for that. And it could be that some of you listening to this, like, well, but I don't want to be where I am now. Well, you're in the process of growth. Yeah. You're in the process of building those resilient muscles. You're in the process of becoming stronger, becoming more powerful, more wise. And that's where practicing self-compassion in these moments can also then help you to build those muscles so that you can then overcome anything in the future. Not anything, but you can. Actually,
yeah, you can. Yeah, we can, even though we don't think that in those toughest moments.
I just finished reading Viktor Frankl's Man's Search of Meaning, and this is someone who went through the Holocaust. Yeah. So yes, we can overcome everything if we have the right attitude, the right practices, the right community.
So life is not what happens to us; it's what we do with what we make out of this, what we're given in life.
Yeah, exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's super important. And I think this with gratitude practices also you focus on, because it's also about that. When we focus on things that are, maybe it's not always easy to focus on the good thing in a difficult situations. Maybe not in the moment, but afterwards, like say, yeah, thank you for that. This was a gift for me because it's made me grow. It made me make these decisions. It put me in a different scenario in my life. So really give thanks to that. And also when you have your parents, and maybe a lot of we couldn't choose our parents, and not all parents are great parents, but also say thank you for that, because they're also giving you something that you needed to become more of you and really live your best self, version of yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. It's funny because gratitude, they say, gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership.
Yeah.
So when you can be grateful for what you have, because remember, this is where attention goes.
Energy flows.
Energy flows. So if your attention is in everything that you don't have, don't be surprised that your life is a life of lack. If you put your attention on everything that you do have, and you cultivate that feeling, you'll just be amazed about what arises and what you're open to receiving.
Yeah. And so what we're talking about here is also, I think, self-awareness. How can you really, when you start to have those reflections and when you start to have a gratitude practice and what you're grateful for and what you focus on, I mean, a good way is actually to journal about it and just really use journaling as a tool to really get to know yourself as well. Like, okay, so how am I feeling? What does that do to me? What triggers me? What? And just really have that as a tool for exploration about who you are, and also learning is like, how do we grow wisdom? How do we actually use what happened to us in a way that we can actually grow and evolve and become wiser?
Yeah. So I have a beautiful practice that I go in and out. I don't do all the practices that I share all the time, except there are a couple meditations and breathwork and qigong that I do every single day. And people around me know when I haven't done it. I definitely feel it.
Yeah.
But there's a practice that I teach in my mindfulness-based stress reduction course, which is called GLAD. And GLAD stands for G, gratitude. So there's an evening practice, and my clients have done it also with their families and even with their teams. So GLAD is G, what am I grateful for?
Yeah.
L, what have I learned?
Yeah.
So you're putting your attention in the learnings. What have I achieved? Sometimes we go to bed with, I should have done that, I should have done. It's pause.
Yeah.
What did I do? What did I achieve? And sometimes, even getting out of bed is an achievement.
Yeah, some days
those mornings when you just feel really heavy. So what did I achieve today? I got out of bed. And the D is delight, because we forget joy. Yeah. We forget that life does have joy. So the idea, just try out GLAD for a couple of weeks and just see how your mindset shifts. And you start creating those new neural pathways that move you into a space more of receiving and learning.
So what you're really talking about is cognitive reframing, how we shift your perspective and shift your mindset.
Yeah, actually, yes.
Yes.
Yes, a big yes. Hell yes.
What can I learn from this? Is there another way I can see the situation? And just really work with the not why is this happening to me, but okay, all right, why, what can I do with this? What can I learn? What can I, and that's also just this with actually reframe things.
Yeah.
And not put yourself in the victim, in victimhood, because as soon as we become victims,
we've given our power over to other people and to life.
Yeah.
And instead and that's the word empowerment, right? We do have the power, but that depends on how we frame what happens to us. And I love what you just said, Jessica, about whenever you start asking, why is this happening to me? Alert. What is this happening for?
Yeah.
Because everything is happening for you, through you, to learn something. So the minute you hear, so why? Pause. What for? What's the lesson? What's the lesson?
Yeah.
What's the lesson? Oh, I should have. Or another one is, I should have. I've taken that off from my... So what I should not have, because we cannot go to the past and change, but is what did I learn that I'm going to change in the future?
Yeah. What can I do different?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's, I think it's Tony Robbins who, I don't know if most people know who Tony Robbins is, but I think he says that you can shit over instead of shit over yourself, it's like you're shooting all over yourself. It's the same thing. It's because it's disempowering. It doesn't take you anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah. And what else? I mean, we talked about this with the nervous system regulation. So it's a breath and body. So we talked about the breath work, the meditation practice. Some people, another way of building resilience is cold plunges.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You're more of an expert in that.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a really good one. And I really think that, you don't really need to go into really cold water, but actually just put yourself through a cold shower. And that obviously have an effect on your mental strength, but also has benefits for your health. So it actually boosts the immune system, and you've got all sorts, like the same with breath work and meditation. It's not just to build a stronger mind and mind and body. It is also... It's got like stronger on a deeper level because it's health. Because with breathwork, for example, or actually pranayama, I have to say, there was such, alternate nostril breathing that actually helped me with my high blood pressure. So I no longer take any medicine for my high blood pressure because a breathing practice can actually help with that. So you got all other sort of effects of that.
Yeah,
that is just a bonus.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And as you're saying, also the body practices, for those of you who do practice yoga, and I know you practice yoga, anything that really gets you out of, and again, it's a before, during, and after. If you're going through, like you're feeling lonely or you're feeling overwhelmed, going to a yoga class, just you strengthen the body. For me, more yoga is I do Qigong.
Yeah.
Qigong is an ancient Chinese practice, and that has been, speaking of curing, it's cured me from an autoimmune, and it's cured me also from prolapse heart valve that the doctor said that's impossible, that I cured it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And then another thing that we talked about in the previous episode is a self-compassion practice.
Yeah.
Of every day or as often as possible, really, there's a practice called metta, which is a loving kindness practice in the Buddhist. But even, you can look at Kristin Neff's work, Mindful Self-Compassion. There's Tara Brach. There are lots of people who do practices, but also I know you're doing practices. I do practices. So if anybody's interested, let us know and we can send a practice of just daily wishing yourself well. May I be happy. May I be safe. May I love and accept and respect myself exactly the way I am. And it's interesting because people say, well, that's just faking it. But beating ourselves up is also faking it, right? Yeah. It's just thoughts. So you can either choose thoughts that are inner critic thoughts, or you can choose thoughts that are wishing yourself kind wishes. Yeah. Yeah. So if you repeat that every day, little by little, your attention will go into kind wishes, and it will go into changing. Because what we're doing with all of this is we're actually changing the brain structure and the brain neuroplasticity, right? We can change the way we're conditioned to behave. Yeah. It's a practice, it's a journey, but it's scientifically proven and anecdotally proven as well. Yeah. You and I are examples of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know. There are so many proofs in that. And I think another tool that a method that I use a lot is Byron Katie's work with.
I love her work.
It's just this with loving what is. Because that's also part of the human suffering, that we sort of wish that we were in a different situation, that we wish that things were different. It's like, yeah, but this is where I am now. I mean, I can wish as much as I can. It's just going to be like the gap between where I want to be and where I am. If that's too big and I focus too much about how big that gap is, how I wished I was somewhere else than where I am, that's just going to cause you more pain and suffering.
Gee, that is suffering. Is the definition of suffering is the gap between the way things are and the way I wish they were be, which doesn't mean that I cannot do something to move towards what I want.
No.
But as you're saying, right here, right now, this is what is.
Yeah.
And it's not apathy, it's not resignation, it's acceptance.
It's
or
just
loving what is.
Yeah, just loving what is, and then also then when you then you can use that and reflect about that. Okay, I don't like the way it is. What can I do? How can I move forward? What do I need? What's the next step? Who do I need to talk to?
Beautiful.
What it's like, because then you all of a sudden that's power, isn't it? That you take action and say, okay, change the narrative. Not, I wish things were different. They should have been like that.
Good. And also because when you're wishing that you want things to be different, guess what's happening to your energy? It's coming out. So it's what it's called energy leakages.
Yeah.
So when you have an energy leakage, then you don't have the energy to
Yeah.
do exactly as you're saying, Jessica, which is, what can I do now?
Yeah.
Because you're so, or we've all been in that, right? Because we're so engaged in complaining, in being annoyed at what is, that there's no energy, physical, mental, or emotional, to change it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a beautiful way of putting it. Yeah. Yeah, I love that. And one thing as well, we talked about what I think about strength and your, and if you listen to the first the previous episode on this one, we talked about community, we talked about friendship, how it is important is to know that resilience is not built in solitude. So that's one thing that you can also do, obviously, as a strengthening practice. How can you develop your support system? What communities, how can you deepen your friendships? I mean, to really sort of be a bit thoughtful about that and just start to reach out. Like maybe not in the moment if you feel like it's too vulnerable to ask someone for help in the moment, but maybe it's like when you've overcome that situation, it's like, okay, MaryAnn, you know what? Can I talk to you about this? I experienced this and I really need to sort of, how can you help me? Can you support me? Because I really feel like this was not good for me. I just feel lost or whatever. Start to actually found those relationships and conversations.
Yeah. Which is, as you were talking, I remember when my mom was going through an autoimmune disease, she once told me, whenever I'm feeling bad, I actually pick up the phone and speak to someone who's not in a good place.
Yeah.
So yes, to ask for support, and then also to realize that when you're in a community and you can support others, that also helps with your pain.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you realize first, as we said before, right, that the common humanity of suffering or pain.
Yeah.
And being able, and when there's a community, there's a sense of being able to help others. And that, because sometimes we can be very into our own belly button, right? My problem, which doesn't mean, like we said before, it doesn't mean putting it away, but just gaining perspective. Sort of that bird's eye view that we were mentioning before. And that bird's eye view is that, I'm going through a hard time and other people as well. What can I do to support others? And there is research also that by actually being generous and kind with others can actually enrich you and help you to put your pain in perspective.
Yeah, it shifts perspective, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah, that is a great that's a great practice, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've talked about a lot of like things you can do to strengthen. And I think that you actually touched on that, MaryAnn, about this, because this is not a one-time fix. It's not a thing you do once and then everything is like hunky-dory.
I love that expression, hunky-dory.
Yeah. But we really want to get into, I mean, it's important for everyone to have, I think, a daily practice, a regular practice, a daily ritual that you sort of come back to, because it's a bit like brushing your teeth or whatever you do on a daily basis. Most people, anyway. Most people. So just find that, because when you got a habit, you create a habit, and then you stick to that habit, and even if it's both in good times and when it gets a bit more challenging. You mentioned your morning, your daily, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a morning. But I think in a way, I find for me, myself, I think like if I'm winning the morning, I'm winning the day. So really start the day in a good way, and then the rest of the day will flow.
Yeah. And something else besides my morning rituals, which are I would call them sacred. Like I do them 6 days out of 7, and because I just realized how that has taken me to where I am now. And I've also noticed it with my coaching clients. Yeah. My clients who actually do the practices, there's a huge shift. There's a real transformation of like sort of coming out of autopilot behaviors. And something is also, and it could also be as simple, I mean, you do need the practice, and it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. But we have no problem scrolling on Netflix or Instagram for 20, 30 minutes, but then we say we have no time for well-being practices. So again, it's always a choice. But also what I started doing is I realized as I'm growing older that my face is going south, right? And I once saw this woman who had all these beautiful wrinkles going upwards. Yeah. And so from then on, I said, when I die, I want to have like my wrinkles going upwards. I want to smile. So that also put me, again, last episode we talked about smiling. Yeah. But I realized that sometimes I wake up in the morning and I go, today I choose to feel joy. Yeah. And I smile. Yeah. And then when I go to sleep, again, the gratitude practice that you were saying in the evening is a great practice. Yeah. And if you're in a relationship, another very powerful practice is go to sleep, or before going to sleep with your partner, share what you appreciate about each other. Yeah. And it could just last 3 or 4 minutes, but you go to sleep, because it's very easy when you're in a partnership to see what the other person is not doing, right? Oh, yeah. But in this case, actually share what you appreciate about each other, and then maybe even what you appreciate about yourself. But it just changes. It changes your brain. Yeah. It's beautiful. I love that. I love that. That's a really good one, because then you put focus on the good things and what you appreciate, because there's always something to appreciate with the person, the situation. But yeah, I think that this with having a morning practice for myself, it is a breath work and meditation, and not always journaling, but I'm trying to get some journaling in. And in a way, I do like intention. I'm setting an intention for my day, and then closing off with some meditation and gratitude practice. Beautiful. And that it's like what you say. It's 6. Maybe sometimes 7 days a week, but at least 5 to 6 days a week, because that's where it all happens. It's in the daily practice, and it's about priorities. Yeah, it's like going to the gym, like you said before, right? If we need to build a muscle, there's you can listen to his podcast. That's great. Hopefully, we've inspired to do something, but do something. Yeah. Just do something. Of the good stuff, obviously. Yeah. So I think that, and we're going to talk about more about what you can do afterwards. And I think we've been touching that, because it's really hard to separate. In the moment, like how you can strengthen, and then afterwards, because a lot of what happens afterwards as well goes into into strengthening practices, as well as the strengthening goes into actually what you do afterwards, because that's a part of it. So it's all a process. So it's circular, right? It's circular. Like what's before is actually after something, which then becomes before after something. And I think that really, this with resilience is about letting go and just go with the flow, what is. And just, I think that when Byron Katie says it so well, just loving what is. Because life, it makes life beautiful. It does. And like I had a guest the other day that said that, and you're in control. If you're actually steering your wheel, you decide where you go. So be the captain, the driver, the director, whatever in your life, and just make that into your life, your journey, and build your resilience. Yeah. So I don't know. With that said, I think that we really covered most of what we wanted today. Do you have anything else you want to add? I think for today we've I feel I've shared a lot that I feel will be very powerful for people. So go out. I mean, the whole thing is really to go out because they work. This practices work. It's not only from what we're talking about, but we work with a lot of people. So, and and there's so much research. So just start something. Just start a habit. It could start with 5 minutes, and I recommend Atomic Habits by James Clear. It's a very good book for creating habits. But start small. Become the person who really cares about you, because nobody is going to care as much about you as you care about you. So you're the one who is in charge of making your life happier, more resilient, more fulfilled, and more meaningful.
Yes. So thank you so much, MaryAnn, for joining me on these conversations. It's been super. I've learned a lot, and it's just beautiful to focus on this beautiful topic and how we can just better ourselves and become more resilient, beautiful human beings that can be of service to others and to ourselves, of course.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So thank you, and for all your listeners, thank you for tuning in, for listening. And I really do hope that you pick up some of the good bits and pieces in this episode. And if you haven't listened to the others, just do that, because there's a lot of good nuggets in the women that are sharing their short stories as well. So with that said, enjoy, go out and be beautiful and resilient, and just try out a new practice if you don't already have one. So bye for now. I encourage you to subscribe to Resilient Voices and follow along on social media, where we'll be sharing updates, resources, and stories from our growing community of resilient women. And if you ever feel inspired or have a story to share, don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to hear from you. You can also use the hashtag Resilient Voices to connect with other listeners who are on their own journeys of transformation.